just making a random video that, probably very few people will watch or whatever, but I don't know, it's just something that I've been thinking recently about um, the gaming industry, specifically like AAA gaming industry, stuff like that. And some of this might just be like specific to me or subjective or whatever, but I don't know. I kind of get this feeling now, and I think it's contributing to why like I don't play almost any new games coming out. Like there used to be a time where I played new games a lot, and I would rent them and stuff. And I know that kind of shows you when it was, because it was more when like Blockbuster was around. But now I just find myself, if I play video games at all, playing games that I used to own, and still own, but that I used to play all the time. So yeah, so I don't know. I guess this kind of started when a friend of mine brought out randomly like his old Xbox 360, and he had Halo 3, and I was like, oh man, I haven't played that in forever. And it used to be a game that I played like all the time. Like it was the first console that I like bought, like on my own, whatever, with my money, and that was the first game in Xbox 360, and I had that for like um, a really long time, and until I got like the red rings or whatever. But like, so Halo kind of reminded me of how fun like games used to be, and how nothing's kind of like that anymore. And maybe that's just nostalgia, but like, what I kind of call it is like the like, um, uh, the effect of imagination or whatever, or like the imagination kind of effect, where you want to, like, the reason you pick up a game, or at least for me, was because you wanted to be in this fantastical situation. You wanted to imagine like you were in this, and it was whatever felt cool at the time. So you would get a game based on that feeling. So, for example, you would, um, if you felt like space was really cool and like, oh, these laser guns and all this kind of crazy stuff, you were like looking for a game like that, and they're like, oh, boom, Halo 3, and you just see the videos and you see cool stuff, and you're like, oh my god, this is awesome. And that's what drives you to play it. Um, it's not what has kind of become now, which I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but it's the like, oh, you've got to play this game effect, where people don't play games, or at least that I know, like the people I know or whatever. It doesn't seem like people are playing games anymore because they're like, well, I saw this one movie about, the Wild Wild West, and then so I went out and bought a video game about the Wild Wild West because I wanted to like imagine that I was a cowboy and get that kind of cool, fantastical, out of, not like out of body experience, but that way of that therapeutic like kind of thing the video games have, where you just kind of enter this alternate world for a little bit and like leave reality behind. Not, I mean, that's an exaggeration, but you get where I'm going. And I just don't kind of see that anymore. It's just usually just like this big huge game that gets super hyped up, comes out, and everyone's like, oh man, are you gonna get this? Oh, we gotta drop $60 on this thing, like we gotta get this. And probably even more money than that. And then like people like on the internet and stuff, like the ones who like get paid to review games that work for like the big ass news companies and stuff, they're like, oh, all right, this is a cool, great game, it isn't this such fun, and then they just forget about it in a week, and everyone else forgets about it in a week, and no one ever plays it again, everyone sells it or whatever, and it's just like a crap game, and there's no focus on the actual gameplay. No one's like, oh wow, like that, we all kind of wanted to like pretend to be that for a while. And I don't see it anymore, but you used to see it in like phases where like everyone would, it seemed like all the different media would get into a certain, sorry if you can hear that siren in the background, but they would get into a certain like artistic, style, like some certain setting, and then everything would come out for that. So there would be um like the Wild Wild West, for example, like I was talking about. Like I remember Red Dead Redemption kind of came out right around the time that movie Jonah Hex did, And like I was like kind of younger or whatever, but still I was like I went to see that movie and I was like, oh my god, this movie's awesome or whatever, and it made me want to play Red Dead Redemption, which I had already kind of been playing, but I was like just getting into it because like I said, everything was coming out and it felt like the Wild West was like the thing. And then I don't know, Red Dead Redemption was an awesome game and everyone played it, and we played it for months and months and months, and it wasn't like like what's the next biggest game that's coming out. It was just like, I don't really care. I just want to play Red Dead because it's super fun. It's accurate, or not an accurate portrayal of the Wild West. Like, no one's just dying of, like, dysentery. But, like, it was realistic, had tons of stuff to do, great controls and everything like that. Like, they got the basics really well done. And so, like, yeah, like Assassin's Creed, that's another good example. And I just have these images kind of flashing up, but uh, Assassin's Creed is another like awesome example to go through like the past and now where they are. Because back then, like remember when the first Assassin's Creed came out? One, that cover looks awesome, and you were just like, holy shit, this game looks cool, and you're like, whoa, like you never thought about being an assassin as the good guy, I guess, unless you played the Hitman games, but like I was a little bit too young for those. But yeah, so, and then like it seemed like around that time everyone was like into parkour. Like then you started seeing YouTube videos about like, oh, let's go parkour, and it was kind of funny because, and remember on The Office there was like an episode about parkour. Like I don't know, maybe this is just subjective and I'm just connecting it because that's at the age I was at or whatever. But and the gameplay was solid. Like I think Assassin's Creed 2 might have improved the gameplay a little bit, but then from there pretty much it just like completely derailed and became more about like, oh, you're gonna get the new Assassin's Creed game because this time it's in this, and it doesn't really, none of it translated because it was like, no, it wasn't about that. It was about the sneaking and the cool, like it was just something that hadn't been done, that didn't feel like it'd been done before, and now it's just like I haven't bought an Assassin's Creed game since 3, and goddamn, like 3 was sucked. I mean, I beat that game, but like still, oh god. I don't know. And then so you also saw The Godfather 1. That game is like probably the best game based on a movie that I've ever played. That was like and it's on the PS2, but I think later they made it again for like the PS3 and stuff. And like, oh my god, because like actually, I said the Xbox 360, but PS2 was the first console I ever played because it was my dad's, and I would just like start to play games on it. And I played like a bunch of games on there first, so like Sly Cooper and those kind of games. But later on, I was like, I saw that he had The Godfather, and I was like, holy, like this game looks crazy. And, he wouldn't let me play it wherever, but when I got older, I played it, and I just got like addicted to it. It's awesome because it's like you want to be this gangster. You feel like a cool New York City 1930s gangster. And it's like a sandbox and stuff, but like has a cool twist to it because you're taking over businesses and you are like racketeering, and so it's kind of like Grand Theft Auto, but it had a nice little twist and it hadn't been done, and it had a really unique style, and so I just like and it had like a really unique like cool melee combat system too. Like it wasn't just like punch 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 punch. There were all these cool combos and kind of had a bit of the bully, if you remember that game in it, and like in terms of like the melee combat. So it was just a really good game all around, and like that's what it was about. The gameplay was solid. It has tons of replay value, and even to this day, if I watch like Boardwalk Empire or something, I'm like, dang, I feel like like getting into that zone of like the 1930s mafia or whatever, like mobster kind of theme, then I'll go play that game and it like satisfies that urge. I don't know, I really like, if we really want games to be like a same form of media like movies and everything has historically been, I think it should be like that, where you see a movie, you watch a TV show, you read a book, and they want to make you play a certain game. Like, you might read a book that's like a fantasy book, then you might want to watch a fantasy movie because of that. You might like go watch Lord of the Rings. Like, let's say you read The Hobbit. You go watch The Hobbit, and you like that. The same way, you should be like, okay, well, I want to pick up like a video game now and get that like same thing. And then like I feel like we're moving more and more away, or at least the big games and even the indie games. Like most of the indie games, I don't even get. Like they're just more like, ooh, it's an artsy experience. But I'm not looking for experience. I just want to like, I want to immerse myself into like a world, and I want that type of like, um, I don't know, that imagination effect, I guess. And I just don't see that. Then the AAA games, you'll like at least nowadays on the new console and stuff, they're just like they you don't like no one plays them. Like another thing that was like confusing the hell out of me was like Titanfall. They're making a Titanfall 2. I thought no one played that game. Like it came out and people played it for like a week and there was so much hype. Do you remember like it was like this is going to be the biggest game of the console and it's going to be the Halo 3 for the Xbox One that Halo 3 was for the 360. And oh my god, how many people play Titanfall versus like I swear to god, I bet there's still people playing Halo 3 online today. And like Titanfall is just a wasteland after like a month from when it came out. And I don't know, and they're making a Titanfall 2 and it's just like, are you going to pay another $60 for that? I don't know. I just like I get that they want the games industry to progress or something, and I get that maybe it's just that I am like, oh, as I get older and get busier, I don't have time to play as many games, so then I like look back nostalgically on the games I played the most when I was like in my teen years or whatever. But I really don't think it's that, because, and perhaps it is, and totally feel free to tear me apart in the comments or something. But like, so like example, BioShock, like that was a fucking great game. Uh, and I played so much of it, and it was like actually scary. And I would literally turn off the lights and play this game. And that was before there were like YouTube videos of people like, "Oh, I'm gonna play this game to get scared specifically, to get scared specifically, like to so you can how fun it's gonna be. Watch me, get scared." It's like what? I don't know. Maybe that's a random tangent, but um, that doesn't make too much sense to me either. Like that, and then so you have like the BioShock like back then, and it was just like I was so like interested in that like that whole the way that whole game felt, the feeling of the game. And the way all the style, like everything looked like the 1950s, I guess, but underwater. It was just super creative, super interesting. And it, like actually like there was so much depth put into it. And so, like you saw earlier, like the Order 1886 or whatever, like everyone makes fun of that game because it just sucked. But I mean, like there was all that build up for it, and like okay, so bear with me here, but like when you walk into a GameStop and they have the TVs on, and they're on some weird station that like I don't know if it's actually even a real TV channel or if it just plays in GameStops around the country, but it's like these total actor people who obviously don't know anything about video games and are just doing this because it's like an acting gig, which I get people have to make money, but you can totally tell they're being phony. And they're like talking about games that are about to come out as if it's like the greatest thing ever. It's gonna be exactly like BioShock, and they're like, "Oh, is it?" And it's like you never played BioShock a day in your life. You can just tell because that kind of stuff. They're like, we're looking forward to going back into this game, and then they'll be talking the same way about like Skylanders or some other kids game, and you're like, what the fuck are you? You get this phony sense from those people in the store, at least I do. And the reason is because they don't actually care about the games. That's why they talk the same way excitedly about like new Batman, Arkham, whatever, 70 bajillion, and the Skylanders and whatever. They're paid to do that. So, and that's I think the focus. And now it's on that's that. Oh, you've got to play this effect. So, like, I guess what I'm trying to say, really haphazardly and like unorganized, but is that there's these two modes. There's the used to be where it's like the imagination effect, where like a game would it would inspire your imagination, and you want to play it specifically for that purpose to immerse yourself. Like you would see a movie that was about mobsters, and you would get interested in that, and you'd be like, oh, that makes me want to go and buy like Godfather 1 or Godfather 2 with the video games, or hell, Mafia or any of those others. I mean, I never played those, but I'm sure it's the same kind of thing. Or you watch a kung fu movie and it makes you want to go buy like a fighter game or something. That imagination effect versus the like what I'm calling, I guess, the oh, you gotta play this effect, where it's like you don't the games aren't be you don't you're not like introduced to games because of whatever is specifically unique about them. You're just introduced to them because people like they've decided that now this is the game you should spend $60 on this month, and then next month you'll have this game, and everyone forgets about them. And I don't know, and perhaps there are people out there who like love Titanfall 1, and I'm sure there are or whatever, but I guarantee that those people will like it because as shallow as the corporation that made it intended, they actually do get immersed in that experience, and they like the mechs, and they like whatever, and I get that, and so good on them. I mean, that's awesome. But the thing is like the game companies aren't, at least in my opinion, focusing games for that anymore. They don't want to like imagine a world now. It's just like we want to make this thing look good so that people will buy it. Like, I swear, I mean, and then I think indie games aren't better. A lot of times people will like be like, oh, the AAA game industry sucks. And there's like, that's why you gotta go play indie games. Have you played this indie game you've never even heard of? Oh, it's so good. I don't think that either, and I barely play like any games. I mean, like I have Steam or whatever, and then like randomly I see all these games pop up in Steam. But like, they're not even trying to do that either. It's like, for me, it's really hard playing a side scroller to get immersed into it, unless I really want to like play a side scroller. I feel like playing an arcade type game. But a lot of those indie games, it feels like they're just side scrollers that are kind of like, oh, you're just a kid learning this emotional story, and isn't it so artsy? But I don't get that either. I don't get like interested in that. I don't see a movie that's like I don't even go see like artsy movies, but if I did, I don't see one, and then I'm like, oh, that was so artsy and depressing. I better go play a game that matches that. And maybe there are people like that, and God bless, or whatever. But still, there still are games, like, don't get me wrong, I've been like obsessed with this one game recently, Chivalry, which it's been out forever. But that's the thing, it's like it didn't come out and then everyone played it and then like it's gone. There's just a core group of people, I think, that just play it, and it's like on Steam, it's like medieval fighting, but it's basically Call of Duty, but in medieval times. So you just get matched up into like this thing and just go at each other, and they have a really like intricate combat and blocking system. And it's like, okay, I'll wake up or I was just finished the last season of Game of Thrones, and I was like, I gotta play some Chivalry because like I wanted to do that. It inspired me to do that. And then when I see things like Titanfall 2 trailers on YouTube, and I know it's like, oh, just get ad blocker. But if you really want to know, I have one browser that I use ad blocker on and one that I don't, just because sometimes for the stuff you actually support, it's better. It's like, I don't know, I guess nicer or something to not use ad blocker so that, you can just give them the ad money. I mean, it's not that bad. But anyway, so like you're on YouTube or whatever, and then you get an ad for Titanfall 2, and I'm just like, who wanted this? And the answer is no one. Not enough people to warrant making it, but the company probably already had it in the works the time that Titanfall 1 came out. And you're just, I don't know, it to me feels like the Avengers movies and stuff, where it's just like they just have like about 10 of them already being made and written, whatever. And there's no worry at all about like, I wonder if people still like this. And maybe that's why there's not ever any fucking good superhero games. But I don't know, that's a totally different tangent. But, and I guess, yeah, okay, Arkham Asylum and stuff like that. Don't, like, get pissed at me for that. But anyway, that's another example where I don't know, I just don't think it kept on being good at all. And it was unique, and then you might see The Dark Knight and you want to play a game, but then now it's just, I don't know, it's not as good. But then, so you have those two things. You have the imagination effect of like the older games, or that's what they wanted to inspire, is like to get your imagination going. Like you see a specific game like Halo, like or you see a movie, I mean, like and or a book or whatever, or even hell, I mean, listen to music or something, and it makes you want to play a certain game. Like if I ever listen, whenever I listen to like electronic music, it makes me want to play a video game, kind of like that's a really good EDM's like good music to play video games to. But I mean, do this test. Like, would you play any game to EDM? No, you wouldn't play like Skyrim to it. I mean, I guess unless you're really into that. But the reason you wouldn't do it is because it just doesn't match. Because it doesn't inspire you to do the same thing. For me, I'd probably put it on and play like CS:GO or something, get like really intense. And that's another good example. CS:GO is a good game, and I know there's like bullshit with the skins and stuff, but at least that's why it keeps it going. And like whenever I watch an action movie with tons of shooting, makes me want to play CS:GO. And same like I was talking about with like fantasy stuff, then maybe you go play Skyrim. And Skyrim's an awesome game, and all those Bethesda games like Fallout and stuff. I mean, they put tons and tons of detail into the immersion, making it like an imaginative thing, and you can see in the fan base why how the fans respect them for that. And so that's a good example. It's not just me like bitching and saying, "Oh, games nowadays suck." Well, no, there's still companies that do it right. There's still like, I mean, how long has it been since Skyrim came out? And then like, imagine, I know no one's gonna be watching this video, but raise your hand if you still play Skyrim. Yeah, tons of hands go up because it's a fucking good game. And I still play Skyrim, and it's a fucking awesome game. And no one would be playing it if it was just shilled out just at the very beginning of like a console launch just to make people give them their money. I don't know. And that's kind of why like I don't buy any new games, it seems like. Like I've been switching more and more to like D&D and other stuff that I'll be posting about like on my channel. Like mostly it's going to be about board games and stuff like that, and tabletop games. Because it just makes you want to like go off and do your own thing. And seeing all this like crap with the like you gotta play it effect, and I used to love talking about video games with people, and nowadays I don't know. Maybe it's just because I'm not up to date with the games people are I guess talking about, but I feel like I am. I still watch reviews on YouTube and stuff. I just don't buy the games because they don't look good, and then I don't like talking with certain people about video games because they will not talk about gameplay at all. All they will talk about is what is coming up, what they've pre-ordered, or like what they just bought and how awesome it is, but not even gameplay wise. They'll just say it's like, oh man, it's a great game because it's like so the graphics are crazy and blah blah blah. That's like I still play Tony Hawk Pro Skater 4 because I like the gameplay, and sometimes I just want a mindless like grind fun game. And I used to skateboard and whatever, so it was just, and I played all the time on PS2, and I don't know, so, and it's like, I don't care about the new graphics or the new whatever, the gameplay has to be good, and I know that tons of people probably have already made that point, but I just got all pissed off when I saw that they were making Titanfall 2, and it just came around the same time that I happened to just play Halo 3 again, and get all this, like, nostalgia coming back from, like, how fucking great that game was, and how I played multiplayer on it so much, and, like, it had such a long lifespan. And anyway, and I know I ran out of pictures that were on topic, so I put some random ones here at the end. And, but yeah, that's the thing. That's, I guess, what I want to leave the video with is that there's that. We need to go back more to the, like, imagination effect in games. Not the, oh, you gotta play this, and then once you've played it, who cares if you beat it or if you put any hours into it? Buy this next one, because now you gotta buy this one. Oh, you gotta play this one. You can buy like 3 games total that you love and be set for like 10 years of gameplay. And why that is because it's about the gameplay and the imagination effect, not the bullshit of like hyping things up just to get people's money. And you can't, like, they can't keep doing this. I feel like the companies are getting so big and fat and so distanced from the average player that the only people who buy their games are just, like, just a bunch of people who are just kind of being cowed into it, and they haven't, like, eventually it's going to get to a point where they're like, wait, I don't own any games that I enjoy. Like, look at the games you own and count how many of them you enjoy. It's insane. And I swear to God, if you go back, if for those of you who've been playing games for like 5 years, 10 years, go back and back then look at your collections, how many of them you enjoyed versus now, and it's gotten smaller and smaller, and that's because of this weird trend and these fucking assholes in these big companies making it less and less about the actual games. And I know that there's better issues to be mad about, but I don't know.